What's up, you guys? I hope you're having a very nice day, a very nice weekend. Today, we're going to do an update slash new project in this video. This is one of my micro puns that we worked on last time. This is the little willow that we planted. And you can see that it's growing nicely. Also, the two little swamp cypress cuttings that we planted in it are also growing nicely. And the bucephalandras are, yeah, also quite nice. Um, I had also planted some bacopa plants, aquarium plants, but I removed those because they were growing very leggy. Maybe because this was under a growing light, sorry, a grow light, and maybe the light wasn't enough and they were reaching for light. Anyway, so this is a project that started with this little guy over here. And you can see that this is also doing very nice. Yeah. In this one, we planted I think it was the original one with the mini water lilies. I planted a little swamp cypress here, and you can see that it's growing and growing. In fact, I don't know if I should put this in the bonsai channel or the terrariums and aquarium channel, just because it's growing so vigorously. And of course, I have to keep it in check, and that falls into the category of bonsai trees. Anyway, so what we're gonna do with this one today is we're gonna remove these swamp cypresses. I just want this little willow in the middle to be the main protagonist of the build. Uh, and I think if these continue to grow vigorously, like the one that I just show you, these little swamp cypresses, it's gonna look too crowded. Maybe it's not gonna look natural. So I'm gonna just stick with the little willow and the bucephalandras and the hydrocotyls that we have here. Yeah, and that doesn't mean that I'm gonna just toss these away. That's what I say. This is also like a new project because I'm gonna use one of these tiny little fish bowls to create a mini um, terrarium, like a paludarium slash terrarium with this little fish bowl. It's going to be something very similar to this. We can see a little juniper over here. So it's going to be very similar. The only difference is that most of it is going to be submerged in water. I intend to plant some moss here, maybe a couple little ferns, a little Bucephalandra at the bottom, but most of it is going to be covered in water. So that's going to be the difference. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove the two little swamp cypresses, and I'm going to show you what the Bucephalandras look like at the moment. Yeah, I'm going to put the camera down, and then we can continue. So here I go with the first one. This one, I think it was the longest of the two. This one and this one right here. Uh, and I'm not really sure if this has rooted. This one for sure, I know that it has, because when I planted it here, it had already roots. Interestingly enough, this hasn't been doing so well. I think it's that that thing that I mentioned earlier about not getting enough sunlight or light in general. Anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and carefully remove this one to see if it has roots. I think it does. We'll see. And here we go. We do. This is nice. So little Bucephalandra leaf. Just gonna leave it there. And it's also got some hair algae. Um, I'm just leave it here. Just gonna leave it here in the little glass fishbowl at the moment. And I'm gonna do the second one. This one I know for sure that it's got roots, but again, carefully, I'm gonna remove it. I'm also gonna remove most of the hair algae. Look, nice. Cat really loves drinking water from the fish bowls. There's a little beta fish in one of them, so I think it for the cat it's like one of those flavored vitamin waters. Anyway, here we go. Most of it. I think this looks quite nice. It's got a little bit of character. The trunk in bonsai, we say it's got a little movement, right? It's not a straight trunk. So I think this one is going to be the one for our little project. So we have them here. Both of them have roots. Now it's just a matter of choosing which one we're going to use. So over here, we got the Bucephalandras. Some of them I've been trying to propagate. Look, these are cuttings. These are the willow roots. I think I got another. Here we go. Another little cutting that we're going to propagate. Oops. Here we go. Oh, it's not in focus. There we go. So yeah, I'm going to plant these. Then I'll show you what that looks like. Okay. So here I go. Okay. So I planted them all. And I also planted that little hydrocotyl plant that we have here over there. And yeah, in the future, I think this is just going to be Bucephalandras and the little willow and the hydrocotyl. Yeah, this is the. It's not the Japanese version. Oh, we got a little floater here. It's another Bucephalandra cutting. Oh, I think this is. I'm going to use this one in the build for today. Yeah, so I'm just going to leave it there floating still. So it's not the Japanese hydrocotyl tripartita, but it also looks quite cool, and it's a little plant that I've always liked. So anyway, I'm just gonna fill this up with water, and then we'll continue with the build for today. Yeah. So here we go. Okay, so I added a tiny amount of gardening soil. This is just a regular gardening soil. Um, if you're in Mexico, you can buy this at the supermarket, marketed as black dirt, tierra negra. If you're in any other part of the world, well, just your regular gardening soil will work. But I think it's a good idea that you use one without a lot of organic matter. Like in color, it should be black because it's got a lot of nutrients. Trying to open a bag of aquarium sand. But anyway, let me just pause the video real quick. So I was saying, make sure it doesn't have a lot of organic matter like cocoa peat or um, peat moss, because otherwise you're going to have a lot of floaters. Also, I think if you use like a lot of it, what I'm doing now is I'm completely covering it with aquarium sand, or in this case, aquarium gravel with a very, very fine grain. So if you don't cover it completely, what you're going to have is a lot of nutrients in the water. Yeah. So that could be a problem. I'm not going to put any livestock in it. Maybe in the future, a couple of little snails, but that's it, you know? And so if you do this in an aquarium, you got to make sure that everything is covered by the aquarium sand. Otherwise, the excess nutrients are going to decompose. And sorry about that. And that will be, you know, detrimental for our little fish. But that's it. When it comes to this one, like I said, no livestock. We just make sure that everything is covered with the gardening soil. So here, I'm gonna use some aquarium plants. Let's go and find them, and we continue with the plant. So here they are. Some of these are tiny, tiny, tiny beautiful under cuttings that we can see here. Japanese hydrocotyl, red rotala, and one more. This is a larger type of Bougainvillea. So anyway, I added a little bit of water. You can see that little centimeter of water there. And now I'm also going to include stones. You know me, I really like to add a lot of stones, simulate the appearance of like an ancient ruin or something. And so why I'm going to add a lot of these. Some of them because I want to create a little platform for the Cypress, but in general, just for decoration, just for the hardscape. Okay, so I go in and I'm going to use the larger plants here in the back. I think this one, yeah, this is the, maybe over here. Multifilander, sorry, hydrocotyle over there. This is going to be like a centerpiece, so over here. And the other little bouquetphilanders can also be centerpieces because they're so tiny. So, oops, one and two. Oops, there we go. And the other one over here. Oops. Just make sure that they're above the gravel. So here, maybe these I'm just gonna keep floating about. That's the thing. If you leave them floating, they will eventually attach themselves to something. Yeah. So that's it. So now, like I told you, I'm gonna create a little platform here for our little Cypress. Okay, so I'm going to continue to do this and then we'll continue from there. Okay, so see you in a bit. So here we are. I got that little platform ready. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of gardening soil over here as well. Just a couple of spoonfuls, really. In this case, tablespoons. And that's going to be the nutrient base for our little Cypress. So here we go. So here we are. Now we come in with a little Cypress. In this case, you can see that the root base is nice and flat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a little bit of the roots because they seem to be invaded by hair algae, like I was saying at the beginning. Um, but in general, you want healthy, strong roots so that it develops nicely. Okay, so I'm going to come in, put it here. Now, all there is to do is to come in with aquarium gravel and cover this part of the build as well. I think it's going to be a bit difficult to plant moss here because I'm going to have very little space. Normally I just have like half and half. What I mean by that, it's half of the space from the build is above water and half of it is underwater. But in this case, I didn't use all of the stones to create that little platform. If you use all of them, for sure you can plant a little bit of moss, which is, after all, the name of the channel, fish balls and musgo, right? But if you can't, it's up to you as well. Okay. Oh, sorry. So a little bit more stones here and there for good measure. And yeah, maybe some of the little plants can also grow in this area right here. Plain. 1 second. And now all we have to do is fill this up with water. Yeah. So we carefully go in with the water. And going to look murky at first. You can see that some of the little pebbles float because they're made up of different materials. We can scoop those up, or if you want, you can just leave them because they'll float back. Sorry, they'll just sink back to the bottom in no time. I'm just going to remove them. Okay. So anyway, at the moment, it looks like dirt. Doesn't look quite good. But in a couple of days, actually, this is going to look really cool. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. Because I'm going to edit the video. I didn't want to, but accidentally I pressed stop instead of pause. So we're going to have to, mm, yeah, edit this. Anyway, you can see that if we just fill it up a little bit less, we can have some room here for the moss, which I think is going to be really, really cool. So I think if I continue to pile up the soil over here, maybe a couple more stones, this will be really good. Okay. So I'm going to pause the video now and I'm going to show you what it looks like after a couple of days. Okay. So here we go. So this is next day. You can see that I added more stones and that I've already planted some moss there. Um, the water level has already dropped, but I think it's going to be higher than that. I think it's going to reach this level, and that's why I have this little bottle here. Oops, sorry. There we go. And we just come in and daily replenish the water so that we have enough. Yeah. So in the submerged part, you can see all the little plants that we planted. To be perfectly honest with you, I don't remember if I showed that on camera. Maybe I did. Um, but over here we have the hydrocotyle. Let me see if we can look at them from this side. Yeah, so here we have the hydrocotyle, and then we have the rotala, bucephalandras over here. They're a bit dusted. We have another one over there, and another rotala over here. This is the moss, and this is a little tree. So we'll see what happens. This is a cool little build. The only problem with these tiny micro ponds or micro terrariums is that they dry up really really fast. In fact, the micro one uh, that I did a couple of months ago that had like a little stone in the middle, that one I left outside for I don't know a couple of hours and it was completely dry past any sort of effort to bring it back. So that's why you got to keep an eye on them. So anyway, I'm gonna keep you posted on this one. Let's see if the moss grows. The moss, and we'll see what happens with the little plants if they adapt themselves well. Now it's only a matter of putting this in a bright spot like this one. Yeah, and I think in no time this will look really really cool. Yeah. So I hope you liked this video. If you have any comments, doubts, questions, anything, drop them down below. You'll be really helping me out if you subscribe to this channel, to my bonsai channel. Yeah, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye.